You want me to put that on my Tudor?
Harry's wife. The stripping of titles. The issue of the removal of the titles of Duke and Duchess of Sussex from Ginger Bollocks and his handler is something which is of particular importance and concern to a section of society. They view the fact that their behaviour is such that they don't merit the use of their titles. Furthermore, they don't represent the people of Sussex, they don't live in the United Kingdom, they've made it clear they don't want to be part of the royal family, therefore why should they be afforded titles? Of course, Harry's wife doesn't see anything wrong in this. The compartmentalisation and blinding effect of her narcissism is such that she doesn't see that she's a hypocrite. She thinks it's entirely appropriate to lambast a family, claim to not want to be part of it, but continually and repeatedly use that title and to triangulate people with it. She uses that title when she writes books. She uses it in terms of being addressed in that way. And she wants it because, as you know from Parts Passum, titles afford status to the narcissist, and status is a means of getting to the prime aims. By lording it over somebody with the title, that can often make those people easier to control. Not all, but some. People responding to the fact that they're in the presence of a duchess means that they are likely to provide her with fuel. It may also provide her with certain residual benefits. People are more inclined to want to spend money with her because of the title, or grant her access to particular networks. Therefore, a title is a very useful thing to a narcissist, and notwithstanding the fact that Harry's wife has said before that she doesn't really see that there's anything special in the titles, or words to that effect, that she doesn't want to be part of the royal family, that she hasn't done anything for the people of Sussex, she still clings onto that title. Indeed, she exacerbated the situation and demonstrated the sheer level of hypocrisy that she operates by, and has invalidated herself by the use of the titles for Archie and Lilibert. Therefore, she is title mad. And understandably, this has made a number of people mad about her use of the titles, and they want to see them removed. Action has been taken by Rachel Markle, a Labour Member of Parliament who represents York Central. I understand that this was done in relation to the Duke of York and his shenanigans, but would also have a repercussion for the Sussexes. A bill was introduced in the House of Commons, and it was introduced on the 7th of December 2022. It had its first reading. And according to Build the Herd, who is a Redditor on the St. Harry's Wife thread on Reddit, Build the Herd has explained that the Removal of Titles Bill, second reading in the House of Commons, is scheduled this coming Friday, March the 24th. This is the first opportunity for members of Parliament to debate the main principles of the bill. The legislation would give the monarch the power to remove titles, with or without recommendation of Parliament. At the moment, it has to be the case that Parliament strip the titles. The proposal here is that the monarch is able to remove the titles, which would essentially make it easier for Charles to do so. The bill is still in the very early stages. There's a long way to go yet. Essentially, it has to go through a second reading in the House of Commons, then a committee stage, a report stage, a third reading. Then it moves on to the House of Lords, where it has a first reading, a second reading, a committee stage, a report stage, and a third reading. And then the final stage is consideration of amendments, and then it receives royal assent. So it's got quite a long journey to go just yet. At this second reading, the government minister, spokesperson or MP responsible for the bill, which in this case will be Rachel Markle, opens the second reading debate. The official opposition spokesperson responds with their views on the bill. The debate continues with other opposition parties and backbench MPs giving their opinions. At the end of the debate, the Commons decides whether the bill should be given its second reading by voting, thus meaning it can proceed to the next stage. Sometimes a bill can have a second reading with no debate, as long as MPs agree on that. Once the second reading is complete and the vote proves that it can move forward, then it proceeds to the committee stage, where each clause of the bill and any amendments, proposals for change to the bill may be debated. Now, The purpose of the bill is to give the monarch powers to remove titles, to provide that such removals can be done by the monarch on their own initiative or following a recommendation of a joint committee of Parliament and for connected purposes. Essentially, it states that His Majesty may remove any title, and where His Majesty has exercised the power, if the person from whom a title has been removed is a peer, their name must be struck out of the roll of peerage, and all rights of such peer to receive a writ of summons and to sit in the House of Lords, or to take part in the election of representative peers, shall cease and determine. Furthermore, all privileges and all rights to any dignity or title, whether in respect of a peerage under any royal warrant or letters patent, shall cease and determine. His Majesty may exercise the above power of his own initiative or following a recommendation made by a joint committee of Parliament. Titles means any hereditary peerage in the peerage of England, Scotland, Great Britain, the United Kingdom or Ireland. It also includes any baronetcy or hereditary title within England, Scotland, Great Britain, the United Kingdom or Ireland. It's going to be called the Removal of Titles Act. And therefore, it's comparatively short in terms of what it explains, but quite simply, it allows King Charles, if he so chooses, or if he's so advised, to remove the titles. A rough and ready, in a way, method of removing them. As I mentioned, it was envisaged that this would be done with regard to the Duke of York as a consequence of the allegations against him involving Virginia Giuffre, but this is also equally applicable to utilising these powers against Harry and Harry's wife. It's at an early stage, and the fact is that it may take some time for it to go through, but there is a possibility that it will. And therefore, it means that there would be a logical case for the removal of the titles. First of all, Charles, as an exercise of his power by way of the assertion of control, may well just remove them because he wants to assert control over Harry and his wife, or to nullify threats of control posed by them by in effect punishing them. But leaving that aside, he could also do so, because of course he's a narcissist himself, under the auspices of explaining, well, you don't live in the United Kingdom anymore, so therefore, why should you continue to have titles? Furthermore, you're not working royals, therefore, why should you have titles? So, should this be pushed through, it would put Charles in a strong position to utilise this and wield it, and to do so in a manner which the public would support, because it wouldn't be seen as him being capricious and just being arbitrary and thinking, I'm just going to remove their titles because I don't like them. But rather, there's no real basis for you to keep them because you don't live in the UK, you don't represent Sussex, and you're not working royals. And add to that, your behaviour doesn't merit that you should keep them. Of course, the risk factor is that should those titles of Duke and Duchess be removed, she could revert to Princess Henry, because he will always remain Prince Harry as a consequence of being a prince by birth. And of course, she will love the fact of being a princess. It doesn't matter to her that she only gets it as a consequence of who she married, if of course by that juncture they remain married, but she won't care about that because she's never cared about the fact that she's made her way through the world as a consequence of leeching off men. Her narcissism tells her that she's a strong and independent woman. So the fact is that the removal of titles would wound her, and would wound her substantially, because the act itself, but also the reportage that would follow. But the fact is that her narcissism would still cause her to believe that she was entitled to be called Princess Henry, and that there wouldn't be an issue with that. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.